Om. 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 Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Sai Ram, offering my humble pranams to our most merciful Sai, who is nothing but love, giving us ambrosia through these satsangs where we get to hear those wonderful moments his chosen ones have had in his divine presence and the lessons learned therefore. And we have yet another wonderful soul with us, Brother N. Dwarakanandh, who's a chartered accountant by profession and has been in Swami's fold since 1974. After a series of stay outside of India, he returned as a Sevadal in 1996 and subsequently was also the coordinator of the Bhajan group for the gents side for a period of 9 years at Brindavan. He served as district president for the Bangalore Central District for 10 years and just handed over charge earlier in January this year. An active member of the Indiranagar Sai Darshan Samiti, which he was just sharing a short while ago, has been one where Swami has visited literally for 14 over years. And as always, every week there is a message that Swami has for us. And I'm as excited as all of you to hear what the message is for us today. And I'm going to request Brother Dwarakanandh to speak to us because he too has a bhajan to attend. So let me not speak, let me hear him speak through what Swami has got to say for us today. Sai Ram.
Thank you, Mr. Venkatam. Sai Ram to all.
Sai
I
Ram.
offer and reverential pranams in the divine lotus feet of our Brindavan Baba. I'm very privileged to have been given a chance to speak to you all, devotees of Singapore and others who have joined. I would like to, at the outset, state that with all humility, that my experiences don't compare with the so-called evolved souls like students and faculties who have been associated with Swami day in, day out in Parthi and other places. My experiences mostly is as a Sevadal member of Bangalore districts. But having been abroad for almost 17 years, I had also had some opportunities to serve Bhagavan in a different way as his instrument. Basically, I would like to start saying that I was introduced to Swami, like in every case, probably mostly by my mother, in many cases because of aunts, grandmothers, sisters. Mostly the women are the ones who actually drive. I was into this Swami's fold. I have observed during my so many years of association in the organization. Having said that, my mother's sister used to be in Karnataka, some place called Ballari, and she had a handicapped daughter. So she used to write to my mother about Bhagavan and his miracles and his darshans in Puttaparthi. So my mother used to always talk to us about Swami. At that time, I was a teenager. I was 16, 17 years old. And once I, in fact, saw her off at the station when she wanted to go for Shivaratri festival at Parthi. So that was just an introduction to us, and that was a passing phase. Subsequent to that, I had completed my graduation in science and moved to a place called Madikeri in Coorg district in Karnataka, where my elder brother Sridhar was practicing as a chartered accountant. And I joined him and started my articleship under him. So after completing my CA, I had an ambition to go abroad, and I had an opportunity to go to Bahrain. First to Dubai a few months and then Bahrain. Having gone to Bahrain, initially when I was in Madikeri from 1974 to 78, I was introduced to the Satsangh and the Bhajans in Madikeri Samiti. My brother and we all used to go regularly to attend the Bhajans there. So it was the introduction, and I used to sing some bhajans. I always had the craving to attend bhajans wherever I go. So what had happened at that time was when I moved to Bahrain, I wanted to actually go for any samitis or center there, but nothing was established at that time. So, but one good thing about Bahrain society is a lot of Indians who have been settled for years together, their decades together, and Ayyappa programs were going on, because Bahrain is a bit lenient society as opposed to Saudi Arabia or other countries. So I used to attend, they used to have satsangs there in the weekends, which is a Thursday in Gulf countries. And Vishnu Sahasranamam used to be chanted regularly by turn in different houses. So I had a cousin who also joined with me in NCR, Bahrain. He and myself, we used to go for the satsangs and then attend the Vishnu Sahasranamam, and then subsequently people were asked to sing bhajans or some devotional songs. So I used to sing Swami's bhajans, which are only things I knew. And one of these days when I was singing bhajan, after the bhajan session was over, a gentleman walked to me and said, "Are you a Sai devotee?" I said, "Yes, I consider myself as a Sai devotee. I believe in Swami and I as a Bhagavan." Then he said, "I am also a Sai devotee. I would like to speak with you." I said, "Fine." So his name is Vinod Pasi, who at present is the internal auditor in Puttaparthi. He has come back to India in 1986, and from then he was associated in Puttaparthi in the finance and accounts and audit department. He's still there. So we both discussed, and then he suggested that we start a Sai center there. I was very thrilled actually. But at the time, Indiranagar sir was the international organization chairman. So he suggested that we should have a minimum number of 9 members to start a center there. So luckily, there were few devotees which I didn't know, but and we all came together and applied for a center, and it was approved. So the interesting thing about it is all these members who joined at that time finally ended up in Parthi. I'll name them. One is, we know this, of course, one of them. Then one Mr. Tillai Nayagan, who was instrumental in building that Anjaneya statue in Parthi. Then Mr. Shivanandan is a Sri Lankan gentleman. He was instrumental in installing computer systems there. And of course, Harihara Krishnan, who was my colleague as well as my neighbor in the same building, he was also a chartered accountant. He had come back, and of course, he served a short period in the Radio Sai. And one Mr. Sivaraman, a very senior gentleman, who assisted All India President Srinivasan for some time. So basically, we all pulled together and we slowly started the activities like bhajans once in a week and some satsang, study circles and all. Amit Deshpande's father, Mr. Deshpande, also joined us. At that time, Amit Deshpande was a toddler, only a 2-year-old kid. We used to carry him around, and they used to be a very naughty child. So slowly, he and his wife Anjali, all of them joined, and the number started slowly increasing in Bharat Sai Center. And the bhajans also were picking up. More singers joined, and it was very interesting to see the number increase to 25. And most of the time, the bhajans were either in my house or Mr. Vinod Pasi's house, and times in other members' houses also. This went on for some time. From 1980 onwards, the center was established and it was going on. My eldest son was born in 1982, and then 1983 we celebrated his first birthday. At that time, my parents-in-law visited us, my brother-in-law also, to participate in this first birthday celebration. It was an evening on a Thursday. This a very interesting miracle that happened. This is Bhagavan's way of proving his omnipresence, that is one. Second is his way of establishing his mission in this entire world. So Bahrain and being Gulf countries have been very, very strict about these sort of activities. The Ayyappa Swami's bhajans were also going in a specific closed hall, but it was quite liberal compared to other Gulf countries. So we used to have bhajans, and there was no objection to that. And we updated Indian Embassy also at that time, so that they are aware of what we are doing and harmless activities. So 83, this first birthday celebration was over, and the number of devotees also increased. One evening, one of the devotees called us for dinner in his house, and Hari Krishnan, myself, my wife and father-in-law, we went. My mother-in-law refused to come because she is pretty uncomfortable in joining the gatherings. So she was at home with the child. It being a Thursday in Bahrain, it was a weekend. So there were 12 apartments in the building where I was staying. And all the apartments except mine were literally empty. Everybody had gone out. So we went for the dinner session, came back around 9:30 and around 10 o'clock, and rang the bell, and my mother-in-law was not opening the door. We were a bit confused. Why is it not opening? And so we knocked the door a few times, and luckily I had a duplicate key with me. I opened the door and went in, and she was seated at the dining table, totally shocked and sweating. She's actually, to be frank, her background is she's Iyengar, where she won't apply vibhuti, and Pakka Iyengar. And so also she never believed in Swami. Although my father-in-law was a strong believer of Bhagavan, she never believed in Swami, and she was always praying Tirupati Lord Venkateshwara. So what happened was, when we saw her, we were all shocked to see her sweating face, and we asked what happened. Did you have any chest pain or any heart? She was a heart patient. She said, no, Baba came. I said, what are you talking? Baba is in Puttaparthi, and that day actually Upanayanam was going on there. No, see my face. On her forehead was full of vibhuti. He said, we calmed her down for a minute and asked her what exactly has happened. Then she said around 9:30, there was a knock on the door. We were, of course, in the reception outside. So she initially thought we have come back. But when she thought, she knew that I have the key, so I'll come inside. But she didn't open the door, and the knock persisted for two more times. Then she reluctantly went, because my neighbor also is a cousin of mine. His wife keeps coming and dropping and talk to her frequently. So she thought she has come, and she opened the door, partially closing it with a safety chain. And she saw Swami standing there physically. She was shocked actually, and she was about to close the door on his face. And because Arabs also dress up like that, they also have the hairdo like that. So she was confused and she was about to close the door. In the process, of course, she hurt her hand, And Swami said, wait, I have brought an apple for Dwarakanadh. So she opened removed the chain, opened the door a little bit, but didn't take the apple. Just kept staring at Bhagavan. Swami created vibhuti, applied on her forehead, walked a few steps and then vanished. So this is what she narrated. Then initially we thought she was dreaming, but the vibhuti was a very conspicuous evidence that Bhagavan had definitely visited. So immediately I called Vinod Pasi and all the other members and told them what has happened. Immediately night at 10:30, a whole lot of them had come home. Then they also wanted her to narrate the whole incident. After that, of course, we performed Aarti at the place where she showed Bhagavan was standing, the place, and it was over with that. But what used to happen was whenever she was seated in the bhajans, her spectacles used to be covered with the vibhuti, her hands used to be covered with vibhuti. And it was a bit surprising for all those devotees who were new in Bahrain. So what that happened, but she used to feel Swami's presence in the middle of the night. She used to get up and say, I can smell vibhuti. So we used to go and see the photograph in the altar of Bhagavan. Vibhuti used to form on that. So this continued like this for almost 3 months, as long as she was in Bahrain. On the day she left, it stopped from the photograph. It just stuck there. Lots of vibhuti was there on the photograph, but never, not a pinch fell on the paper which we kept below the frame. But the day she landed in Delhi, it started coming from there, from the photograph in their house. My father-in-law had a photograph for me. Just started coming. So this continued for almost a year. Wherever she went, we had a small Graha Pravesham in our house in Chennai, and that day also vibhuti came there. This continued for only 1 year and stopped after that. So what happened was in fact, you know that few of us were discussing. Bhagavan wants to establish a center here, so that is his presence is an indication that. So we went ahead and informed, of course, actually, many of them suggested we write to Kasturi sir about this miracle and also show to Swami. So as if Swami doesn't know, he's the one who did it actually. So we wrote an article in Sanatana Sardi in 1983, I think it was come in 83 June. So he, Kasturi Garu took it to Swami and Swami approved it. So it was published in 83, 84 Sanatana Sardi. After that, of course, the center grew. The number of devotees have become 100, 150. My apartment was not able to accommodate so many devotees actually. And people used to sit in the bedrooms and the kitchen everywhere. And it was a very exhilarating experience. And subsequently, of course, I left Bahrain in 1986. Hari was there for some more time. Hari and Vinod left in 1986. So I went to Cyprus and then moved to Saudi Arabia, US, and then came back to Kuwait. And Kuwait, one Ashok Shirali, who was till recently working in the super specialty hospital administration, he passed away due to COVID last year. He and one more person, we started Kuwait Sai Center also. It also is running, and the Bhajan Center now has got 3 branches, and Kuwait has got 1 branch. But there also in Kuwait, a lot of devotees experiences Bhagavan's presence. Vibhuti, Kumkum, and all used to appear on the photographs. And I think one of them, in whose house it used to come, is currently working for Vidyavahini in Puttaparthi. So this is my first experience in the international organization. After 1996, I had come back to India once for all for good. And first, my interest was always to serve Swami in any capacity. That was always there. And from the beginning, by nature, I am like to serve, do service. So I joined Sevadal in 1996 and revered Venkatraman sir, who was in charge for the Sevadal, took me in. Mr. Venkatraman sir was he's the father of Mr. Hariharan, or singer and composer. He used to stay next to my house. So we used to go to Brindavan regular basis whenever Bhagavan was here. And he used to give me a lot of assignments. So a few of us who were very, we can say, very close to him in terms of physically. And he himself is a very strict disciplinarian and very devoted to Bhagavan. And he served Swami very, very sincerely during his tenure and until his death in 2009. He used to give us a few assignments. I want to share some of my Sevadal experiences, and then I want to move to the Brindavan Bhajan group experiences. And so in 1997, 1996. Swami's students normally perform some sports activities. Brindavan students also do some sports activities. So at that time, Mr. Narasimhamurthy had requested Sadananda Vishwanath, who was the wicket keeper those days, to come and train the students in a particular type of drill with a cricket gear. So I don't know any of you have witnessed that. So 11 teams were formed, and each country's uniform was worn by the students. And they used to, the band was playing. They used to show the positions of a cricket player, like stance, square cut, so many other stands. So Sadananda Vishwanath used to teach them. And this then during the January Sports Fest day, the boys had presented that. What happened was when Sadananda Vishwanath was asked to go to Patti by Sri Narasimhamurthy sir and Gopinath, and they wanted Swami to see him, who was the king. I was also asked to take him from Bangalore to Patti by car. And myself, my wife, and we three of us went to Patti. And first day, Swami didn't call him. Second morning, Swami called him in to interview. So he said, I have two more people who have come with me. He said, call them also. So Swami called me, and being on the gents side, it was very close to the Swami's interview room. I walked in immediately. But Bhagavan, by that time, there were about 15 devotees are already seated. Most of them are Westerners, and a couple of Indians. One is a Supreme Court judge and his family, and another couple. So I entered the interview room. Swami was about to close the door. Then I said, so I requested Swami, my wife is coming. She's speaking. The lady said a bit slow. He immediately said, why did you keep your wife there? You should have put her in your pocket. I said, yeah. I laughed and kept quiet. The advantage is I was living in Andhra Pradesh for almost my school and college days. So I speak Telugu fluently. Although my mother tongue is Tamil, I speak Telugu very fluently, like a native. So I spoke with Swami in Telugu only. And my wife entered into the room. Swami said, where were you? Your husband is very nice person. You are always giving him trouble. So we all laughed, and Swami said, close the door. Then an interview was going on. He used to talk to these Germans in Germany, German language, and the judge and other people. And he asked Sadananda Vishwanath, what do you want? He said he didn't know what to ask him. We also didn't update him what to say. So what Swami materialized and created a ring for him. The usual ring, which that emerald, I don't know what stone, green color, and put it in his finger. He was just looking at it, and after that, what Swami had done was he was one by one, he was calling the groups for interview inside the room, and he called him also. And he called me and my wife also inside and spoke with us for some time about our personal issues. And I told Swami, I want to do service for me. He said, do it. Okay. Then after we came out of the the inner room, Swami was sitting and he was talking for a few minutes. Suddenly he asked Sadananda Vishwanath, is your ring loose? Is it fitting correctly? Before that, what happened was I had a ring in my hand, which has 9 stones, Navaratna ring. So Swami, I was sitting this one side of Swami's chair in the inside the room, and my wife other side. Swami was holding my hand, and he was just looking at it. I thought he's going to give me something, my my greed, but nothing was given to me. Then he came out and he asked Sadananda Vishwanath to give that ring. He blew it 9 times, and that green stone became 9-stone ring in front of everybody's eyes. And he put it to Sadananda Vishwanath. That time it fitted correctly. After that, Bhagavan has asked each group to come and take photograph with him. And our turn came. I was about to sit down because I'm quite taller compared to Bhagavan. He was, I'm 4 or 5 inches taller than him. So I sat down. My wife was same height as Swami, so she was standing. She held my hand and made me to stand up. So I stood next to him, and the photograph was taken by the Supreme Court judge. This I consider actually his divine will, how it happened. You see, having a photograph with Swami is a very rare privilege. You normally, our next generation after generation, and they all realize Bhagavan's divinity, they will realize how valuable is that photograph. That's what Narasimha has said in one of his books. So it can be a group photograph or it can be individual photograph, whatever it is. The avatars, along with the avatar you are standing and taking the photograph, was actually a blessing, a bliss. So, but unfortunately, none of us had any cameras. Only the Supreme Court judge was allowed to take the camera inside. He took the photograph and we didn't know who he was. We didn't see his face also because we were sitting next to him. And don't know his name, his address, nothing. So we said, okay, that's all our luck. We will not get a copy of this photograph. Myself and my wife are walking near the South Indian canteen. Suddenly somebody came running and said, hey, you are the one who is in the interview room. I said, yes. Can I have your address? Then I realized that this is the gentleman who had actually been sitting in the along with us in the interview. I gave him my address. I thought he is just curious, asking probably he must send a copy of the photograph. What he did after he went back, he sent me the negative itself of the photograph. So that was actually a miracle for me because that photograph is now with me on my wall, in the sitting room wall. A real divine experience. Subsequently, I had been involved in many Sevadal activities. Venkataraman sir used to give me some tough assignments also. Because of the international experience or whatever it is, he used to ask me to do some assignment. One was this international cricket match, which was conducted in Puttaparthi in 1997. Myself and another fellow Sevadal member, Mr. Nandakumar, we were asked to. I was asked to go to Mumbai to bring the players, and via Goa bring the Sri Lankan players also, and take care of their luggage, their accommodation. And of course, I was coordinating with Sunil Gavaskar for all these things, accommodations, booking, boarding, and all those problems. It's a Sevadal duty only, nothing special. Because I'm not, with a lot of humility, I'm saying this. It was only a Sevadal duty. So you know who are the Indian players there? Ganguly, Tendulkar, everybody was there. All the who is who. What happened? Another incident happened when we were returning from Parthi to Bangalore. In the bus, all these players were sitting and chatting. All the boarding cards were with me because they were all previously booked and the boarding cards were given to us because one of our Sevadal members on Pathsadi, who was a protocol in state government, he had the privilege and he got all the boarding cards ready with us. So what happened, the buses moved from Parthi and after about 2 kilometers, a couple of Sevadal on motorbike started chasing us and went ahead of our bus and stopped the vehicle in front of the bus. The bus driver stopped, and this guy came in and said, "Sir, you have missed one boarding card." It was Tendulkar's boarding card. So all the things, if I had gone to the airport without that, it would have been a big disaster. Only Bhagavan has saved me. I was the only one who was with the bus, in the bus with everyone of them. So luckily everyone boarded and they left. That was over. The second major Sevadal duty which I got, 2 times I got. As I said, Mr. Patsadi was the protocol in state government. So he had a lot of interaction with the Indian Airlines counter and ground staff. So he used to, as a protocol, he always receives the VIPs who are visiting the state government offices. So he had access to the airport lounge, inner lounge, and all those things. So our organization used to use him extensively. Mr. C. Srinivas and others used to use him extensively. If there is any requirement when Bhagavan goes to Kodaikanal, the chartered flights have to be coordinated. So 2 times I was sent along with Mr. Pasadi in the flight with Bhagavan. Of course, I was still, humbly I submitted, I was only a Sevadal, nothing else. So my job was to ensure that all the luggages are boarded and everybody is comfortable. First time was in 2005, I think it was to Coimbatore. That went off, accompanied Swami at the Coimbatore and then came back in an empty flight, chartered flight. So when it came back to Bangalore, it was empty. Myself and Patsadi came back. The second incident that happened was in 2006, when Bhagavan went to Kodaikanal, but on the way back, he came from Madurai. So I was having the boarding card of all the members of the flights who were coming back. The boarding cards actually Pasadi handed over to me and said, "You look after their boarding." The flight landed, and from Kodai, Bhagavan had come to Madurai. And you all know Ms. Madurai Chettiar, who is very close to Bhagavan. He had invited Swami for a Naivedyam. So Bhagavan went to his house. But the original arrangement, I think, was Bhagavan to go there with a few of his close associates who were office bearers. Rest of all the devotees, students, faculty, his own relatives, all have to come directly to the airport. So I was holding all the boarding cards. I was planning that when all of them are seated, I will call the names and distribute the boarding cards to each one of them. It so happened, all these people went along with him to the Madurai Chettiar's house. That became a big issue because, first of all, as soon as Bhagavan comes to the airport, he will board the flight. Once Bhagavan boards the flight has to take off. The chartered flight, there's no other no restrictions to that. So what happened was Bhagavan's car came later, but the relatives came by bus immediately, relatives and all the other accompanying devotees. I was a bit panicking because I couldn't know how to handle the situation because out of those 200 people who were there, or 150 people, I hardly know any one of them because some of them are familiar to me, but many of them are unknown. So luckily, Ratnakar sir was there, and Amidesh Pandey was also there in the group. So they said, "You give us some boarding cards, we'll distribute." So we, in a hurried manner, we distributed all the boarding cards, and we were waiting. Bhagavan arrived. And then at that time he was in the wheelchair, I think, and he went to the VIP gate. There is the buses which are hoist type, which lift the vehicle. So in that he went and he sat in the bus and he went to board the flight. So in the meantime, we checked in all the passengers. We asked them to check in, and luggages. We saw that they're all checked in. And last, I was the one. The Narasimha sir gave me Swami's suitcase with me. So Swami's suitcase, his personal dresses and our suitcase, it was with me. So last I checked in, and I was supposed to hand carry that suitcase. So I was hand carrying the suitcase, but because it's a chartered flight, there was no restriction from the ground staff. The other members who were along with me were the 4 security guards who always come with Swami, the white-dressed policemen who always accompany Swami. So I was taking them along with me, and C. Srinivas sir also was with me. But what happened when we came to security check, C. Srinivas sir went ahead. He said, I'm going, I'll go, and Swami is already seated. Flight is ready to take off. And these 4 guys are there. So I checked in my Bhagwan suitcase and I came out. And these fellows had put their bags, all the 4 of them. The police stopped them. I said, what happened? He said, saw the bags in the screen, they're all having guns. They're all privileged to have the guns because Bhagwan security. Then he said, nothing doing, you can't go in. I was shocked. I know I'm sweating because Bhagwan is seated. The flight has to take off. The whole lot of them are waiting for me to come and aboard. So the police said, nothing doing, you can't go in. Luckily, Srinivas sir had gone only up to was about 20 yards and he came back. And what happened? I said, this is the situation. So you handle it and you went away. I was alone. Nobody is there to help me. I was praying Swami fervently, saying, Swami, please help me. I don't know how to get out of this situation. Then that guy, the security fellow, insisted he wants to see some document permitting these people to have the gun with them. Then these people gave an Andhra Pradesh chief of police letter or something, or superintendent of police letter. I think it was not in English, it was in Telugu. So this fellow made my life miserable. Then after some time, a lot of hassle, he permitted them, but under one condition. He said, take out all the guns first. Take the bullets out and separate the bullets, pack them separately, put the guns in a separate packet, pack it with this silicone tape so that it cannot be easily taken out. And he called the ground hostess, told her, you take this, put in a bag separately and keep it in the galley, the aircraft. Don't give it to these people. Okay. After that, they were released and we went and boarded the flight. I was literally profusely sweating and Swami was seated in the row number 1, seat number 1. I looked at it and Sai Ram, I said, and gave the suitcase to Narasimhamurthy. Satyajit was there. I gave the suitcase and went and sat. My row, seat number was 23rd row. The flight took off, and after some time, I thought, actually, in between what happened was I was, before this, I was already taken as in charge for Brindavan Bhajan group in 2002. So I was part of the Bhajan group, and I can narrate few instances. Probably Chandru, who spoke with you all before, my Chandrasekhar earlier, he must have narrated this experience of Brindavan Bhajan group. But I'll also say a few things. So we were planning to conduct an exhibition on bhajans. So that exhibition was supposed to be on 12th of June of 2006, I think. So Bhagwan has finished the Isharam Day celebrations and he was coming back, I think, at that time. So it was May, 1 more month was there. After the flight took off and leveled, I took a letter which I had already prepared, went straight to Swami. Swami was sitting, and I knelt before him and prayed Swami that we are conducting an exhibition. You have to come and inaugurate it. He asked in Telugu, when is that? And I gave the date. He said, okay, I'll come. That was over. So it was June, I think, not May, June. So that month we were planning on 12th of June was supposed to be the exhibition. I think 2-3 days before that, Swami was coming from his Traye residence, coming out. After he crossed the gate, there is a red carpet coming to Sai Ramesh Hall. We were all sitting eagerly waiting for Bhagwan to come. Almost he was reaching the Sai Ramesh Hall, he tripped and fell. And when he was falling, Rajkumar Jain, who was a lecturer in the college, he held his hand. So we were all watching. Swami didn't fall on the floor, but he's almost on his knees when he fell. Rajkumar Jain held his left shoulder, left, I think, or right shoulder, right, I think. He held his biceps. That impact, I think, has cracked the bone of his hand. Bone was fractured, hairline fracture. But Swami didn't show any pain, he didn't show any reaction. He got up, walked around, gave darshan, and some people brought the beach buggy, the vehicle, electric buggy there. Swami went around, he gave darshan, collected letters, and went back to Trai. So that was, I think, 8th or 9th of June. We were supposed to have the exhibition on 28th. We made all the 12th. We made all the arrangements. So what happened after that? Narasimhamurthy sir came and said, "No, you are not going to have the exhibition. You cancel it." So what happened? Then later we came to know that Bhagwan's biceps, that bone was cracked and was hairline fracture. He was in slings, actually. But Bhagwan is Bhagwan. You know, he used to come for darshan, wearing a shawl around him, and then regularly used to be seated on the Shanti Vedika, and darshan was going on. After 15 days, we have again requested Narasimhamurthy sir, can we ask Swami now? For more than 15 days, I think he's in a better shape. Of course, he was still covering himself with a shawl. Said, I think already they agreed. So myself and 3 of our Bhajan group members, we went in. When Swami was coming out of the interview room, I offered that letter to Swami. Swami again said, "Okay, I will come." And this time we were given a date of 28th June. So what happened was, on 28th June was, I don't know, many of you may have gone to Sai Gitanjali in JP Nagar. That's one of the big centers like our Sai Darshan. Bhagwan inaugurated it. So those people, Dr. Padmanabhan, who always goes along with Swami in the during darshan time, he is actually one of the important members who was instrumental for their building. So they had the anniversary of Sai Gitanjali. So what we did, we have prepared in Sai Kalyan Mandap, the entire Bhajan group put together the exhibition nicely, and we were waiting for Bhagwan to come. So this Sai Gitanjali anniversary normally is celebrated in Brindavan with the Bal Vikas programs and all those things. And Bhagwan was seated on the dais. That time Modi came. He was the chief minister of Gujarat at that time. So he also came. He was sitting next to Bhagwan on the dais. The bhajans were going on in the Sai Gitanjali groups. Bhajans were going on. Suddenly Swami turned to one of those sitting next to him and said, "Let's go." Halfway through the bhajans, he moved his wheelchair. He came to to inaugurate our bhajan, our exhibition. It was such a thrilling experience. In spite of his difficulty, the love and the grace he had for the Brindavan Bhajan group was really, amazing. Because this is one of the, actually I can say, a privileged group to sing before Swami for so many years. In fact, Andrew, who spoke with you all before, he had been associated with them for almost 35 years now. So Bhagwan came, inaugurated. He brought Modi also along with him. We had kept about 50 or 60 panels explaining the intricacies of Bhagwan bhajans and bhajan singing. What are the bhava, raga, tala, why one should sing, all those things. The group had very smart members who designed these posters. Swami went through each poster and sat and listened to our explanations. For almost about 40 minutes, he was there inside the room. After that, the exhibition was visited by almost 3,000 people who were visiting international members also. This is one of the experiences which I had. Because Brindavan Bhajan group had also prepared, you all would have seen it, a book called Brindamritam, containing bhajans. We worked for it for almost 6 months. And in 2010, we all went to Patti. Bhagwan came and took our letter and said, "Okay, go ahead." So we started planning for the book to be prepared. And it was, when it was ready, the manuscript was ready, after 6 months. By that time, Bhagavan merged. I mean, your earthly sojourn was over. He had gone back to his heavenly abode. So we were a bit disappointed. We worked so much for that book to be blessed by Bhagavan, and we postponed it. So subsequently, several programs happened, Bhajan International Bhajan Conference, and several programs have happened. So in one of the programs was National Bhajan Conference, our state president, Nakapa sir, asked whether we can finish the book. That was in 2013. So we finished it. In one of the houses, a lot of miracles used to happen. Vibhuti used to come like in many other places. So we said we'll get it blessed by Bhagavan, at least in this way. And we put the manuscript and letter. Bhagavan blessed it with Vibhuti. And to our surprise, there was in writing, he has given with love also. So if you see the book, Vrindamrita book, I have attached to the photographs of all those which happened there. He showered kumkum, vibhuti, turmeric, everything in different pages. All those photographs are there. You can see the book in there right now. This is one of our major activities which we done as a Brindavan Bhajan group. And then we also had a Bhajan devotional songs program that was also very much appreciated by everyone. And our Bhajan group trainer Chandru asked Swami whether we can do it in Patti also. Similar way, we went and did the same program again in Patti. Swami blessed us all and took photograph with all of us. And we also did the exhibition in Patti. These are the few activities which we did. And the Brindavan Bhajan group actually, 1 minute, yeah. So they have been very, very sincere in the practicing the bhajans and presenting to Bhagavan. So that is one of the areas, almost that 9 years I was with them. I really enjoyed. I'm still a member of the Brindavan Bhajan group. I'm still a member of the Sevadal. After I resigned as the district president, I'm still continuing to do my other activities. Even 2 days back, I did a Sevadal duty in the hospital. So these are the few experiences which I had. And, you know, I can share only up to this much now. If anything, anybody wants to ask anything, I can do it. My concluding what I can say as been associated for so many years with Satyasai Seva organizations, I can say one of the things which is very satisfying, in addition to the bhajan, is service. The service activities, if we take heart and do it, because one of the things I used to do regularly, I mean, I'm with all my humility, I'm submitting this, no ego in this. I want you to understand, because these are the part of our Sevadal duties which we have. See, when Bhagavan is in Brindavan for the 3 months, the activities are really very hectic, because unlike in Patti, where you get about almost 1,000, 1,400 Sevadal from all over India serving, and Bhagavan was there. In Brindavan, you have only Bangalore Sevadal. And many of them after darshan, they'll go away home or office. So during those times, the tough fixes. I used to be, most of the time, I used to be in the Trai inside the residential gate where most of the VIPs pass through. So what used to happen is sometimes I used to get a chance to, I don't know how many of you have seen the, behind the Trai building, there is a big door where Swami's car is parked, portico, and then there is also a Sevadal always standing there. So in one of the incidences, I was standing there because the person who regularly does the duty there, he went for lunch. It was very, very unexpected. Bhagavan never comes out during the afternoon that time. So I was standing there and suddenly the door opens and Swami comes out. He was in a wheelchair. And of course, he wanted to go somewhere. He went around for about, I think, 20 minutes and came back. That was a very close darshan, first time I had Swami, in addition to the interview. What I would like to say is all of you who are situated and based in international organization like Singapore or any other country, I don't know how many opportunities you get to do services there, but I'm sure you have been doing for several years. I think Singapore is an open society, unlike the Middle East, so you will be able to do a lot of services. Nothing like doing surveys. This is my heartfelt feeling, basically, after working in the Sevadal for so many years. So these are the few points I want to share, and I would like to conclude with pronouns to all of you for patiently listening to me. Sai Ram to all of you.
Sai Ram, sir. Thank you so much. I think I have had the privilege of being in the Kuwait Bhajans, and it was just bliss. Lots of wonderful work done in the center there. The mental wellness programs that they run, and some of the volunteer there. It's always amazing how Swami sets up these international places. And the whole satsang seems to be connecting the dots. So today I have to say the entire satsang series started with Haryana, and we are hearing about his father today. So I guess it's Swami's way of connecting the entire dots. I see Shankar and Anna here in the satsang today. Sai Ram to you, sir. So it is like people who you have heard of, and the connecting thread is Swami. Somehow, somewhere along the line, I'll talk to you later. I'm getting yet another connection. Whenever these messages go out as to who the speaker is, someone comes up and says, I know him, or I know that person, or their family. And then we realize that the common dot is Sai. And that is what it is today, what you have shared.
It's a huge Sai family, sir, wherever you go. In fact, to be honest with you, when I was in Saudi Arabia in 1990, and I was transferred from Sai to Saudi NCR, same company, but different branches. So in 1990, when I was there, this Iraq and Kuwait war happened.
Okay, yeah.
Hari, who was with me in Bahrain, he was in charge for Kuwait branch. Yeah, he has released a book recently about all his experiences. His escape from Kuwait to via Iraq to Jordan during that heavy shelling period was an amazing experience which you have to read. He had written a beautiful book about all his dreams and experiences. And so when I was in Saudi Arabia in 1990, the Scud missiles used to fall even in Riyadh and other places also. So the experiences which we had in different countries is in a different way, because Saudi never used to allow us to do any bhajans. Right. So from there, I moved to the US because a friend of mine got me a job in Cooperson Band in an audit firm. There, of course, I don't know, Harshad Patel, who is an international organization in the US. So we used to do a lot of service going to the Los Angeles downtown, homeless people, serving them. So many things. Sundar Srinivasan, who was with me in Kuwait, you know him?
He's my cousin's husband. So we just...
Really? Padma's husband? Padma's husband?
Yes, correct.
Oh, okay. Vasan sir and Shanta Mami, they are very, very close to us in Bahrain. They also used to attend our bhajans in Bahrain. And Sundar, of course, I only got Sundar and Padma the visit visas because I was in charge in finance and administration in NCR Bahrain and Kuwait. So I got them the visas, and subsequently he converted into an employment visa after joining BKME. So see how he moved from there to US, and when he was there, he taught a lot of children and others bhajans. He was a very good singer. He was Sundaram singer before.
Yep.
So Bhagavan definitely has his own way of bringing people together. It's a universal Sai family, I can say.
Absolutely.
This can exercise wherever we go. When I went abroad, many places, first thing I do is go and check where the Sai center is. Like when I went to Toronto, I visited the Sai Center, beautiful building out there. And I went to Paris recently and I saw a beautiful satsang going on in the Paris Center. So similarly, everywhere Bhagavan takes us to these families and the Sai family. One of the incidents that happened, funny, I can share, and I have 2 more minutes, I think. My son joined the McGill University, and the second son joined McGill University in Montreal. He has always been a pampered child, so he had all facilities and luxury at home here. So when he went and stayed in the hostel, and that was in September, heavy snowfall, he became very depressed. He didn't know what to do. We were also not sure what to do because that's a strange country for us also. So what I did, it thought occurred to me, there must be a Sai center there. Let me approach them. So what I did, I picked up the international organization list and checked for the Montreal Committee. Then I found that the center has got one convener who is an Indian, Gopal Menon. Immediately what I did, I sent an email to him saying, my son is in a bad shape. Please help me. I want you to go and see him. He said, immediately he replied, said, don't worry, I'll go. The same evening, he took some nice food for him. He went and met him in the hostel, assured him that nothing to worry, he's there. The whole family will help him. And he introduced him to his nephews who are also studying in McGill University, which was not known to him. So I said, Bhagwan has brought us all together as a family. And irrespective of where you are, where you go, you will always be having this family together. Yeah, this is my humble feeling.
Absolutely, sir. That is the beauty of having this connecting dot called Sai, because Sai is nothing but love. Love connects all of us, and he is there everywhere. And there's nothing than proudly saying that we lived when he walked. He lives in us, and we should value and keep him in the temple of our hearts, as many of the previous speakers have spoken about. And this Bhajan series is continuing, where Bhajans transforming us is continuing in its own way, where you have now spoken about that exhibition that you had. Definitely remember that release of that book that you spoke about. And we look forward to reading the story about the Kuwait escape, as you mentioned. We have heard a little bit about it, but looking forward to reading that.
Swami, every inch of the Swami was with him throughout the journey. So many hours of journey across 1,000 miles of Kuwait deserts, Iraq and Jordan. It was really a very nerve-breaking experience of his to read.
So thank you so much, sir. You have your bhajan to attend, and have a wonderful bhajan. And thank you so very much for helping us realize that wherever we are, it is him that keeps us connected. And that connection is something that we are blessed to have in our lives. Sai Ram, until next week, which is going to be the first satsang for the new year, praying to Swami. I have no idea who the speaker is. He should know, and you will get to know, and I get to know. So that's how it works. We'll finish with Samasta Loka, sir. We'll finish with
Thank you to all the brothers and sisters who are on the line. Thank you.
Sai Ram. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jai Bolo Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba Ji ki Jai. Sai Ram, everyone. Stay safe until next Sunday. Sai Ram. Sai Ram.
I'm logging off. Sai Ram.
Yes, Sai Ram, sir. Sai Ram. Sai Ram, uncle. Sai Ram. Sai Ram. Sai Ram, everyone.